Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Staying with West Indies cricket, having just discussed the West Indies' poor performance on tour of England, which resulted in a 3-0 series loss and, of course, subsequent whitewash, Caribbean cricket heads have now turned to the upcoming 2-test match series against South Africa, and more specifically, who will be representing the West Indies in those matches. As of June 30, Cricket West Indies opted not to renew the contracts of lead selectors for both men and women's team, that being Sir Desmond Haynes and Anne Brown-John, respectively. Now, with the West Indies Test squad performing poorly in England and a visit from the 4th-ranked Test team in the world on the horizon, questions are being asked about who will be making the decisions regarding any changes in the team. I have a sneaky feeling that Joseph Reds Pereira is wondering exactly the same thing. Reds, thanks for joining us. There was a rumor earlier on this year that after the contracts of Sir Desmond Haynes and, of course, Anne Brown-John were not renewed, that there was a belief that it would be the head coach and the team captain who would be selecting the team. Is that what you're hearing, or is it something else?
Well, it's stronger than a rumor, my brother, because they have virtually said so in words without saying anything. This must be a real historical selection of the 3-day selection against South Africa, because never in the history we have had a team being selected and the Caribbean people, the press people, have no idea of who made the selection. You can only assume that they have gone ahead with the coach, the captain, and maybe chairman of selectors Mike Bascom. If they were doing that, they should have simply come out and said to the West Indies public that this is the new selection policy. I'm told that Roger Harper has been written to and Tony Gray has been written to be scouts, but they have been total silence and secrecy. And there's a test match squad to be selected very soon. And I just want to echo something that Fazir mentioned a while back. It's really a waste of time by the ICC to be giving the West Indies 2 test matches. It's just not really catching the eye. There seems to be very little interest. If there were 3, one in Guyana, one in Trinidad, let's say one in St. Lucia, it would have been a lot more interesting.
I agree with you on that. But let's stick with this point about the selection committee or lack thereof. What are the downsides to having the coach and captain be the primary selectors of a team here, as opposed to what obtained before?
Well, it begs the question. When you have selectors, when you have Desmond Haynes, Michael Finney, Lockhart, Sebastian, I'm just calling names, right? They are independent. They are independent observers. They're watching the games, etc. They are obviously available to talk with the captain and the coach. And in this situation, you are in fact turning to people who are employed by the board, right? Who can have their own biases in terms of who they like, who they think they're good. It might reflect on form or on ability. And I think it's a very dangerous step. It's an experiment that we do not need at this time, having just had a bad workup after just being beaten badly, as Vazir talked about. I think since 1928 we've been having selectors. They have picked some great teams. They have picked some great players. And I think we should have continued with that format, which someone following West Indies cricket for some while feel it's a better system.
Yeah, but you know, Reds, there's always the argument and the discussion that the coach, who knows the players better than the coach, and the captain, the person, of course, you know, given the responsibility to lead the team sometimes, and some people may argue that the selectors are not as close to the team or not as connected as, you know, a coach or a captain will be. So maybe there can always be that discussion that the selectors are maybe just making up numbers, and I'm just here looking at it from different angles. Love to hear what you think about that one.
Well, I don't believe the former selectors would like your description of making up numbers.
No, but I'm just thinking, Rez, about, you know, there are always different angles to a discussion, right? And that has been one of the discussion.
I mean, you're virtually asking a captain to continue to select himself as you go down the line.
Yeah.
That's not happening in any other ICC member association of the ICC. Would you agree, Kelly, that it is an experiment?
Right?
So would you agree it is an experiment?
Of course it is an experiment, and you do know that if it does not work, the first thing they're going to say is you should have left it as it was before and not try to tamper with the system.
Well, I think the system has worked in our favor.
Yeah.
It's a system that picked Ram and Val, that picked Holding, that picked Marshall, that picked Chanchapal, that picked Shamar Joseph, just to give some examples. And they have picked some great teams, our 1950 team, or 1961 team, or 63 team,
right,
or 1985 team. But I think we must look at maybe what they are trying to learn, Kelly, and your colleagues, from this 3-day game. I don't know if you all have thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, well, Reds, you know, as I say, right, whenever you discuss topics, you have to look at various sides. And, you know, because you've been doing this thing for so long, I always have to challenge you and, you know, pick your brains to see how much you disagree with my points. You know, we're a bit short on time today. Producer is saying we have to wrap up because, you know, because of the Olympics and everything. But it's a discussion we're going to have to continue, so we're hoping that you'll be available when we're ready. Thank you so much.
Just let me respond. I think we should rest some of our players who went to England, and certainly rotate some of the players. Roach is going to be back here. Don't have to give Azari Joseph any more work until he's ready for Bangladesh, etc. Justin Graves should get an opportunity, maybe the rest holder. But sorry, we're out of time.
Yeah, thanks again, Reds. We'll talk to you soon. All right, Joseph Reds Pereira there. We're going to take a quick break and come back to wrap up today's show. I did tell you it's going to be a short show.